Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Gutterwise Marketing Podcast. Thank you for all joining us today. If you're unfamiliar, the Gutterwise Marketing Podcast is a really cool thing that we're doing in the gutter industry where we're interviewing highly successful and super fun people from around the world, figuring out what they're doing to keep their trucks running today, how they got there, and where they're looking to go. So today, I'm super excited to be joined by Mr. Kevin Lewis of Northern Michigan Seamless Gutters. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice, beautiful Friday over here in Colorado where I'm recording at, so can't complain.
Okay, well, northern Michigan, it's a little drizzly, cloudy, but it's not snowing, so we're all good.
There we go, right? Classic Northern Michigan and classic sunny Colorado. That's what we're dealing with today.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Well, Kevin, I really just want to dive right in. I know your time's valuable, so I don't want to waste any of it. So, Kevin, I'd first like for you to give us a little bit of background for those of you who, or for those that don't know who you are. Just tell us a little bit about who Kevin Lewis is and what you're all about.
Okay, well, obviously, my name is Kevin Lewis. I am from northern Michigan here, and I have been in the gutter business for about 25 years, 26 years now. So I started out in the building trades. I was a builder. We were doing mostly remodeling. And I had the opportunity to buy a gutter machine when my aunt and uncle were retiring. They had an ABC Seamless franchise way back in the day. And they were retiring. I bought one of their 5-inch machines in a truck, and we were having trouble finding good gutter installers up here. There was maybe one or two, and it was all Pike and Farrell, and even though technology had far surpassed that at that point, they were unwilling to go beyond that. Um, so we bought the gutter machine, and we were just kind of doing our own thing. And then I started developing where I could put a couple guys on the truck. Uh, this was all in 1998. So in 2004, I'd gotten to the point where the jobs were getting bigger and bigger in the building business. Um, I I was tired of the help that was available, and of course, part of that was my issue. I tend to be a perfectionist on this stuff, but in any case, so in 2004, I quit building. I just kept one of my guys. I installed gutter. I answered the phones. I did the bids, all of that. So so that's kind of how I got started in the gutter world. Um, I guess I could back up a little bit because I did do gutter when I worked for my aunt and uncle at their ABC Seamless franchise. Just despised gutter. I could not stand putting up gutter. Give me siding all day long. I'd do that, but that gutter, that was awful. So uh, it's kind of ironic that I ended up making my living doing this. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, so we've been plugging along for what, almost 26 years now, and we're getting better and better every year. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wanted to dive into a little bit about that background you had in building before you got into gutters. What was really the main driver? Because there's a ton of things. I know you spoke that there's a gutter machine available and things like that. But really, there was a ton of other ways that you could have gone instead of gutters. And so, what was kind of the logical thinking behind that? Of, oh, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do this.
well, so I guess to back up, I started out as a carpenter, and I was lucky enough to work with some very talented carpenters.
Gotcha.
Um, they were all trim carpenters. We were framing houses um, with the end result in mind. So, a lot of rough carpenters will just throw stuff up, and where it is where it is. Well, we had to think about how we were going to finish this stuff when it was done. So I learned good habits from them. And this, I guess, isn't totally what you asked, but I'm going to get around to it, I think.
Don't worry about it.
Uh, so um, fast forward, I had a couple of different carpenter jobs. I became a licensed builder, went out on my own. But there was a period in there, like I said, where I was doing siding and gutter. Uh, and it just, so I was, I don't know, 6 or 8 years into my own building business when I bought the gutter machine. And honestly, it was just, I couldn't find guys that were doing the gutter the way I wanted it done. They'd use all 2x3 downspouts and, like I said, Mike and Farrell, OT7, they're just junky screens, and that was all that was available. So I made the decision to, I was kind of get up the game a little bit, and it was for my benefit mostly, but it developed into, 25 years of doing gutter now. So,
For sure.
but that's kind of how I got into it. I had a need, I had the money, I had an opportunity, so I took it.
There you go. Yeah, really just taking advantage of what you had in front of you, right?
Right. Yeah. And it wasn't there was there was a lot more money in the building industry at the time, or
Oh,
in
I'm sure.
building.
Yeah.
So, it was easy to get into because, honestly, getting into a gutter business is fairly inexpensive.
Yeah, comparatively to a lot of the other trades, right?
Right. Yeah. And, the licensing is a lot less here in Michigan. You're supposed to have a maintenance and alteration contractor's license at the least. But there's tons of guys out there, kind of flying under the radar, aren't doing any of that stuff. But, you know, we try to get rid of those guys when we can, at least get them licensed so they can collect money if they ever, run
Right.
into a problem. So, but that's sort of the way my line of thinking the whole time was. I wanted stuff to be as perfect as I could get it. And, so that's how I started out. That was my philosophy this whole time. And it still is.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what was that revenue range that you were at on the building side when you decided to make that investment into the gutters?
We were probably, so this would have been 98. We were probably 7 or 800,000. I don't recall exactly. We were doing a lot of high-end remodeling. Actually, the last house I built was the last house I am going to build. So,
So you guys
but
definitely
it
had the
was
capital then to kind of make that decision. Like it wasn't
oh
something
yeah,
where it was like, this is going to make or break the company, right?
right, yeah, and I think I paid $12,000 for the truck and the machine back then. So
Yeah.
it was you can probably still spend that and get
Yeah,
into this business. You know,
for
um,
sure.
but yeah, it was just that was actually the biggest shock was the reduction in revenue when I went from building to maybe that first year, $100,000, I want to say. Um, and so there was definitely more money in building,
Yeah,
but
100%.
but there doesn't have to be. I come to find out.
Yeah, yeah, seriously, yeah, and especially now, right? So I
Right.
actually wanted
Well,
to dive into those first couple of years when you first got jump started. Like you had just said, you took a significant reduction in revenue. So what were you doing out there to really try and just get the ball rolling?
I really had it was Yellow Pages ads at the time. I do some newspaper advertising. Um, it was really more word of mouth. So we're in I call it a resort area. I live by a lake, and so it's a lot of weekend people, that sort of thing. So I had a lot of contacts in that world from my building because I never advertised that, and almost all of our work was lakefront customers. So, it was I just kind of built on those relationships and the word that I was out there to progress this thing on. And honestly, I never really did much advertising until maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, because I didn't need to. Um, but we've changed how we're doing things, so now I need to.
For sure. Yeah. No, yeah. What were I mean, so you really just leverage relationships, right? Just building out word of mouth, people that you knew from the building industry, that sort of thing. And that's
Right.
kind of what you got, how you got the ball rolling. I noticed that that's a very common trend in
Hmm.
really construction and home services in general is, leveraging what you just have around you, right? And I think that's one
Right.
of the most amazing ways to really start any business, right? Whether it's you're a fitness coach or you're in construction or you're opening up a storefront of some kind, right? Just leveraging those people around you is huge. And
Hmm.
it obviously that reigns true for you as well. Once you kind of got past that range of you're like, okay, I've done what I can with all the people around me. These yellow page ads are working. Was it really just building a solid referral system of people just word of mouth giving you referrals and telling people, hey, these guys know what they're doing?
Um, yeah, mostly. So at some point, and I don't remember the years, probably early 2000, I hired a salesman who previously worked for well, it was an ABC Seamless franchise, a couple hours away from me. So he did the same thing, and that's really when I started advertising, though. So we do some home shows, um, radio, the newspaper. We do flyers. We do just a mass mailing of flyers, which was pretty successful then. Looking back on it, it probably wasn't as good as I thought it was. um, so that's sort of how the progression went. Uh, we just I didn't know anything about advertising. You know, honestly, I still don't. But you know, I know that I need it. I know that there's guys that know it, and those
Mhm.
are the guys I hire.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. That
um,
delegation, right?
yeah, exactly. Which is a tough thing to do when you're the guy on the truck doing everything. Tough to let go,
Yep,
but
100%.
we are where we're at now because I let go, because I maxed out what I could do. And so if there's any word of advice to guys that want to get beyond just them riding around in the truck doing all the work, let go.
Yep. Gotta let go.
You're
And
the
even
guys you
that's, I
did.
mean, that can be placed on guys that are, got crews going on. I know plenty of guys that are sitting at that kind of 1 to 1.5 range, and they're still just running out there every single day on the weekends during their lunch breaks,
Mm-hmm.
family events, and they're out there still slinging estimates, checking in on jobs. And I'm like, man, you're making $1 million a year in revenue. You have the ability to pass some of those things along, and you have the ability to really let go a lot of that, which is gonna eventually make you more money, right? Like a lot of that
Right.
delegation makes it easier and simpler to scale, and it just makes it that much more profitable for when you
Mm-hmm.
start getting a lot of those leads coming in. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that reigns true across the board.
Well, to that point, I've got a friend down in Kentucky who about 2 million a year, and he was doing everything. He was answering the phone. The only thing he didn't do was installs, but he was answering the phone and doing all of the quotes and the going out and doing the assessments and things all by himself. And I can't imagine
Seriously, $2 million
how
dollars a year doing that, I couldn't even imagine either.
it was. He didn't have a CRM. Everything was
Pen and
written
paper,
out.
just writing it down.
That's it. That's it.
That's
And
crazy.
but some guys are more suited to that. I had my limits, so I was not able to. I'm not able to do that.
And
And
I feel
I'm
like
not
most people
interested
aren't.
in.
I feel like you got to be a real special type of person to be able to manage all that.
Oh, you do, yeah. And looking back on how things are running now, I wonder how I had time to do anything before. I don't know where the job came from. I don't know how I had time to do the jobs and the quotes and answer the phone calls and all this stuff while I was doing the work, the actual installs.
Yeah.
It blows my mind that I didn't get beyond that sooner.
Right. Right. No,
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of jump into what the business looks like today and kind of how that's changed over the years. So I first want to ask kind of what was the biggest challenge when you really started scaling up? What was one of the biggest struggles that you faced in that phase?
Uh, Everybody's help.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and in fact, we've still got that. We're actively hiring. We get the construction industry is notorious for guys that can't manage their lives.
Yeah.
And,
Unfortunately,
you
yes.
know, yeah, but I think it goes across all the trades. I carpenters I work with, well, they get paid on Friday. They don't have enough money to get to work on Tuesday. Well, that becomes a problem. So trying to, and things haven't changed in 30 years, 30 plus years.
Wow.
I'm still dealing with mostly the same guys, right? We all are. So uh, the biggest challenge is getting, you know, the guys that have the ability and the talent and the want to be good at doing gutter, and then we can help them get over that other hump where they're not struggling constantly for everything.
Hmm.
But that's really been the biggest challenge is getting good help, and not everybody. You would think you could train anybody to do anything, but
Not
that's
necessarily
just
true.
not the case.
Yeah.
It's not true. Well, maybe it is true, but sometimes it takes too long. And when there's work piling up, unfortunately,
Got to keep
you
moving
can't.
forward.
You got to keep moving forward. So yeah, labor.
How were
That's
you able to kind
that's
of overcome that? Was there a point in time where you're like, oh man, and it just clicked and you were able to kind of figure that out? Or is that still something that, you're still trying to get under your belt today?
well, it's still something we're trying to get. So we need to keep adding to the team. So we've got 3 machines, and um, we do gutter cleaning, and so there's a lot of work that needs to be done. 2 crews is normally what we're running, 2 2-man crews. We could use a fifth and sixth guy most of the time, but what we've done, I guess, to back up to what we've done is, so we do kind of a bonus program for pay. So they get a fairly high hourly wage, and then there's bonus on top of that. So a lot of these guys are, the crew leads, they're doubling their paychecks, from their hourly. And the helpers get a smaller percentage of it, but that's one way we've tried to get beyond the just you're only ever going to make $20 an hour or whatever the rate is. I'm just throwing numbers out there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so we've got that. Guys can move up to be crew leads, and then we've got one guy now that I'm going to make kind of an operations manager, get him off the truck, and we've got to get somebody to replace him on the truck, So,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
we've got some different programs. We do the smart money program for the guys. They sorry, my phone's ringing. Um, so it's just another perk to try to make life easier for them, because I think if a guy's life is easier and he's happy to come to work because he knows he's not going to be starving next week, I think that helps to retain the good people.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, we'll see in the long run how it works, but
Right. Test it out, see how it goes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to jump forward to today, kind of how the business is going now. What revenue are you guys sitting at currently?
We're on track to do 1.2 this year. Um, so my so my numbers always in my mind are higher than they
Right.
actually are. I think, wow, yeah, we're doing a lot, but then I get the reality check from the my wife who does the book. She's like, no, we're not there, but no, there's a good chance we might exceed the 1.2 this year. Um, so like I said, I mean, right now we're doing a 3-man crew. There's another guy starting Monday, so we'll have two-man crews again. The problem is I can sell whatever we need work wise, but we can't get to it. If we're constantly 4 to 6 weeks out, people start, you know, going, well, I'll just go with the guy that can get to me quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So, so that is one of the struggles, with the labor is if you don't have enough, you you can't service your customers, and then you start losing out there.
Yeah. Exactly. For sure. And so what it sounds like is you guys are doing pretty well with keeping customers coming in the door, right? You have a
Oh
solid
yeah,
flow of them coming in. You're just having trouble kind of pushing it um, to the next level of, okay, how can we get all these customers in as soon as possible and completed so we can keep the flow moving, right?
right, right. And just we've just started a new training program. Um,
Okay.
just so I've got SOPs for you know all the stuff, and the problem is if I so there's two crew leaders, you got two helpers. Well, the helpers who or the crew leaders who I train aren't teaching their helpers the same thing I taught them. They've decided, sometimes they'll take a shortcut here and there. So now we're getting back on track to where everybody is doing the exact same thing consistently, which I think will help the frustration level with the guys because, if they're never having to wonder what it's supposed to end up like or how to do it, there's manuals, we've got um, the one crew leader, he's doing the training. Um, so we've got the resources, if you will. We've just recently implemented that just to try to get back to square one and get these guys all on the same page so we're all going the same direction.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So, what are you guys really doing now to kind of keep that lead flow coming in? I mean, since as you said, it's pretty solid. So what's the
Yeah.
methodology there? What are you doing?
Well, I started um it was probably a year and a half ago. I think I had a new all right. So currently I had a new website built, which is really helping. I've done some Facebook marketing. Uh, we're doing billboards. We do like send Jim through our CRM. We'll do postcard mailers to neighborhoods. We do email blasts of different offers we have. So that's currently what we're doing. Um, our biggest our our biggest benefit is the website and um, 5-star reviews
Mm,
because then we end up showing up higher than most everybody that in the areas we're working in. I think we're the highest in all of them. So uh, so that's really where the biggest benefit has been is kind of promoting the hey, give us a review and going from there because it just we rank up higher that way on Google.
yeah, 100%. 100%.
We've been doing Google LSA. I didn't do it for a while. I'm back to doing it, so we probably get with my budget. It's we're probably getting 6 calls a week. That for with the budget I set for that.
There you go. No, Google
And
LSA is a huge resource for a lot of folks. It works extremely well if you know how to set it up correctly and you know what you're doing. It can work extremely well.
well, I know none of that, so it's still working. So there must be
There we go.
something to it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the I did kind of as an aside. Google is very difficult to deal with. I changed. locations, and phone number. And all my stuff disappeared for months. And there's nobody you can talk to.
No, it's a rough time. I think I was just talking to a client of mine who they've been really struggling to get their profile verified because they're transitioning in offices and they don't currently have like a central location, and so they're
Mm-hmm.
they're they're doing a lot of the work out of garage space or whatever it might be, right? And so
Right.
they're having a real hard time getting verified because they can't like they do the video stuff and they're like, this is all you can see the material all sitting right here and you can see everything.
Right.
And just like, well, and then they just don't get verified. And no,
Mm-hmm.
that whole process is a huge struggle for a lot of guys, especially when there's just something simple like a phone number that needs changed, right?
Yeah. And I think I did the video verification 4 times.
Wow.
And we were at the other location. There's signs, there's material, there's everything is there. And they still wouldn't do it. So anyway, we got it straightened out.
Well, there you go. At least it
And
worked, right?
yeah, well, I ended up having to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Believe
Yeah.
it or not, that still works if you can find somebody to talk to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, what are you guys looking to doing moving forward? Obviously, you have this solid lead generation source. You're trying to get some more crew processes and placements.
Mm-hmm.
But what does the future of Northern Michigan seamless gutters look like?
Well, I would like to, this next year add a third crew, get another, case tile machine because we do 5 and 6 inch case tile and 6 inch half round. Um, I would like to add a third crew and the operations manager that I'm moving up, he can do sales too. So, we're kind of, you know, just putting more people in place to be able to sell more, to do more. And, and as far as getting the leads, my attitude on marketing is I don't really have a budget. As long as it's working, there is no budget,
Right?
you
If you can
So
hand someone $3 and they'll give you 10 back, then there doesn't really need to be a budget because you can just keep it rolling, right?
right, yeah, you can just keep spending more and more and getting more out of it. And um, so, we're probably gonna up the money we spend on marketing, which honestly, if you'd asked me 2 years ago if I would spend what I'm spending now on marketing, I would have said there is no possible way that could never pay off.
Right, right.
So, well, you being in the marketing business, you know how this goes. And,
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
have trouble convincing people that, they say, well, I've got $1,000. And if it doesn't work immediately, they just throw their hands up and give up? Or how does that work with you?
No, I mean it happens all the time, right? Like you'll have guys that and really it's all about breaking beliefs, right? Because there's this
Mm-hmm.
underlying belief that they have that, this won't work for me. I'm some sort of special snowflake that, this process, my business is different than everyone else's and gutters is different from every other industry. And so these
Right.
things don't work for me specifically, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think especially with their low budget, it's hard to work with, but it's still possible, right? So, like for
Right.
example, we have our advertising program for Google, right? So our paid advertising program that we have for that side of things is really strict on budgeting, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
our minimum is $1,000 a month ad spend, right? If you don't have $1,000 a month in ad spend, you're hard pressed to get measurable and decent results from your service area that are actually going to provide you with some return, right? Now, obviously, if you're starting out and just kind of doing it yourself and just learning the ropes, definitely just throwing a couple $100 in there just to figure it out and see what catches and what doesn't is always recommended, right? But if you're really looking to
Right.
actually get a source coming in and have a reliable lead generation system, there has to be some money that goes into it, right? And I
Right.
actually, just talked to a guy today who is doing almost 5.5 million in just gutters as well. And he said the same thing, right? Like it's all about breaking those beliefs of it
Hmm.
it does work, and you just have to, you take that step and move forward, and be able to understand that there's people out there that know more about this than what you do. There's people out there that understand how the system works, and if you can find out a way to trust them, then they will more often than not help you grow the business, right? And so
Right. Right.
long story short, we come across that all the time, and it's just, um, and some of those guys, they're not going to change, right? Some of those guys,
Right.
they're not gonna figure it out, and they're just gonna stay doing their same old thing, and that's fine, if they want to stay where they're at, right? If they don't want to grow.
Right.
But if you
Right.
want to grow and you want to do something more with your business, and learn more yourself and grow your own self, then it's just something that has to happen.
Right. Yeah. And I was one of those people,
Yeah.
I was, there's no way around it. And honestly, so what changed in my world, which is taking us to the next level, is um, so I went to GutterCon a couple years
Mm,
ago,
huge resource.
and oh yeah, and so um, I was actually down. I think I bought a half round machine from Classic Gutter Supply down by Kalamazoo, and I was talking to the owner, Augustine, and I was asking him about it because I saw the ad for GutterCon and whatever the magazine is, Roll Former or Gutter, I don't know what it's called. Um, I said, well, that's kind of expensive for us little guys to go to, right? But so he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going. I'm like, well, yeah, but you got this operation, and I'm just this
Right.
little guy.
Right.
With two guys on a truck and me running with around like I'm crazy. Uh, so my wife talked me into. Had rented a place down in Florida, so we were already down there, and she's like, well, you need to go. We need to at least check it out. So we went there, and it really opened my eyes to the possibilities because my line of thinking before was, all right, well, we've got, you know, limited, um, I don't know what I did to my machine here, but uh, we've we've got limited possibilities was my thought process on this because it's gutters. I mean, how big can you get doing gutters? Well, I found out you can get very
Very.
big, and it's I don't know how I missed this before, but obviously I did. And, I just, it really opened my eyes to the possibilities. So after that is when I got a CRM. We used Jobber. Um, we just sort of took the advice of people who knew, and
Yeah.
marketing was one of the things. And it really changed the game for us. We bought a new building last year. Well, not new, but new to us. It's in the process of remodeling. We had to do it in stages this spring because we had all the money out on the building, and anyway, we needed to get our receptionist into the space. So, um, but that's all that stuff has added up into you know doubling our revenue in I don't know, a year and a half.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah. It's
yeah,
it's amazing how much those types of resources can actually, pay forward when you figure out, like, hey, that's actually something that's possible, right? Like you said, how
right.
big can you get? Well, we've seen on the extreme end, you've got people like, Brothers That Just Do Gutters, which is $100
Right.
million franchise at this point. And then,
Hmm.
you've got those independent guys, Colin DeHaan out there doing great work,
Yep.
guys like that are just killing it. And so it really is a belief breaker, right? This is
Right.
possible. You just have to learn how to make it work for you, right?
Right. Well, and I kind of I'm a little jealous of all these young guys that have all these resources now. When
Right,
when
right.
I started, it was just like, well, there's the world. Good luck. But
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
now there's and maybe there always was. I don't know. Maybe there was business coaches back then and marketing companies. Obviously there were, but that was not in even my realm of thinking,
Hmm.
about this stuff, because I just always had the thought that, well, I'll just, it's a decent job. I'm making a living doing it. I'm, never going to get rich doing it, but I'm not going to starve to death either. So I was content with that until I found out, well, hey, you know what? I don't have to stay here. And, so I encourage all these guys that I meet, hey, watch these podcasts and, listen to get audiobooks. I do tons of audiobooks. In
Hmm.
fact, eMyth was another game changer. Um, it just, it makes so much sense. It's always the simplest answer too.
Right,
And
right. What, so you got to wait for someone to tell it to you, and then you're like, why didn't I think of that?
right, yeah, it's so simple.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so that's, what brought us to this point. And, honestly, I want to see $10 million a year. So that's our goal. Um, you know, I haven't, I haven't, I keep vacillating between 3 year and 5 year goal on that. I think 5 year goal would be better because too big, too fast is a problem.
Very true. Very true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
No,
because I've
go ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I've had guys that I've moved up too quickly to lead positions, and my fear of growing too quickly is that I'll do that again, and I'll leave a trail of repairs that need to be done.
Oh yeah.
Because that's just not how we operate.
Yeah.
So we're going slow and steady.
Yeah. There you go. Slow and steady wins the race, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
But we're going for 2 million next year. So
There we go. That's a good goal to have. I think that I like what you said about, all these resources that are available nowadays. Obviously, it's I heard this quote and it's easier than ever to start a business, but it's also easier than ever to do nothing, right? It's
right.
so many distractions out in the world. There's so many things going on that it's so easy just to sit back and do nothing, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
as easy as it's ever been to do something, right? And so,
Right.
you got, guys popping out of nowhere doing cool stuff. And, you just have
Mm-hmm.
to absorb the information and really just go out there and figure it out. Right. I mean, like I
Yeah.
started, I started when I was 18 was when I started my first business, and that failed
Mm-hmm.
horribly. I hated it and it was terrible and it was the worst thing I ever did. And I lost a lot of money on it. But,
Yeah.
years later, I'm now here and, still doing the same thing, right? And still working on it and still figuring it
Mm-hmm.
out. And I think that that's the biggest part is you have to break those beliefs and you just got to go figure it out.
Yeah. I totally agree. And so the other thing that I advise guys on is you're going to have these hurdles to get past to get to the next step. Don't let them stop you. It just they can be overcome. There's almost nothing that can't be overcome. And labor is one of them. If our woman that answers the phones quit tomorrow, yeah, that'd be a problem. That's a hurdle. I don't think she will, but but there's lots of these little things that can have a devastating effect if you let it.
Yep.
If you know don't overreact. I guess overreact is probably the proper term, but um, take a second, think about it. It's just an opportunity to solve a problem. So, and
Exactly.
then you got to gain that experience. That doesn't happen again. If it does happen again, you're easily by it, whatever this problem may be.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Exactly.
But it took me a lot of years to realize these things.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So
I'm sure.
yeah, I wasn't always like that.
Yeah, no, it definitely takes time and it takes learning. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, let's hope Courtney doesn't quit tomorrow, right? Let's hope she doesn't just get up and peace out. And but no, I'm sure that it's you just figure out those steps, right? It's like, okay, we've dealt with this
Mm-hmm.
before. How did we solve it last
Right.
time? Did it work? great. Let's just do that again, right? How can we maybe
Yeah,
do it a little bit better, a little bit faster, whatever it might be.
right.
And that's it's trial and error, right? It's just a lot of trial and error, um,
Yep.
which is super important. But so I obviously, there's been tons of tools out there to use, right? Tons of learning and tons of opportunities out there for people to learn. It sounds like GutterCon has been one of your biggest learning tools in the
Mhm.
past 5 or so years that you've been able to leverage. Would you recommend, you know, who do you recommend to go to those types of things? New guys, old guys? What do you recommend for that?
All of them. And it's, I think the biggest benefit of GutterCon in particular, is just the being around people that have done what you're looking to do, and just opening your eyes to the possibilities that there are. You're not stuck in some, you're lucky to make 100 grand a year, installing gutter by yourself. I mean, there's ways beyond that if you want to. And there's a lot of people that are just willing to offer their assistance and their advice. And, I've met people that did, they've got way bigger businesses than me. And they're like, yeah, give us a call if you got a problem. We'll help you if we can. They don't charge. They're happy to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm a couple hours from Colin Don, Tony Cobb with All
Yep.
Gutter Systems in Grand Rapids. He's a friend of mine. He's
Michigan's like the hub
off.
for all those guys, right? They're all just right there.
Oh yeah, they kind of are. And the funny thing is I think every other guy in Michigan has a gutter machine. It's just
Right? You walk
I
down the
I
street and
keep
someone's got one.
yeah, I keep seeing all these guys going out of business and all over the country, and I think they're getting bought up here in Michigan, and everybody and their dog's got a gutter machine now, and
Yeah.
it doesn't always work, but or it
They
doesn't
sure
always
give it a
work
try.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the other thing we have up here, and I don't know how it is in other parts of the country, but we get a lot of snow in the winter. We work all year. There's so many part-time gutter companies up here. It looks like it might snow. They're out.
Yeah.
We're we're either gonna you know do a kitchen or whatever they're gonna do. They're going inside.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that sets us apart is we do gutter all year round. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it slows down in the winter, but you know, it's that's another way that I don't know if these guys are smarter than me or dumber. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I could go inside in the winter, but I just our whole deal is we specialize in gutter. This is what we do. You need an answer, we've got it.
Yep.
We know how to do it. We've got some of the best guys in business working for us, and that's we want to keep them, so we keep them working all year.
For sure. For sure. So
Yeah.
to kind of wrap up here, I wanted to see if you had any last tips or tricks or just general pieces of advice for other contractors out there that, might be looking to break their first million, or really just anyone really who thinks that they're trying to do what you've done. Any tips, things like that?
Listen to people that have been there, because there's so many guys out there that have been there, and they don't go out and promote themselves. They just but they're happy to help you for your sake, not their own. And I say, find a mentor that does the business you want to do, and kind of I don't I want to say act like want to act. I don't know. That's not quite the right. I'm not saying it how I'm meaning it. I don't think, but
No worries.
it's just everybody's got somebody they look up to, and don't be afraid to ask them for some advice. And even if they're your competition, chances are they will help you, because if they're a big company, you're not going to hurt them. If they tell you, hey, go to a CRM, quit writing stuff on paper, you're not cutting into their business. So they're willing to help, you know, and so don't be afraid to ask for help, I guess. I guess is the bottom line.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. So, if there's anyone out there that might be listening to this and wants to ask you a question, maybe get some help from you, what would be the best way for them to reach you and get some advice?
They could email me at kevin@nmgutters.com or call our office at 989-281-1066.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
Courtney will answer the phone.
Awesome.
Transfer it to me.
Yep, yep. Thank you, Courtney, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
well,
you,
I
Courtney.
really appreciate you coming on, Kevin. I got some great insights and thank you for kind of sharing your story and really what you've been learning in the past long time that you've been out here doing gutters. So again, thank you so much for coming out and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, George. Thank you.
Of course. Have a good one, Kevin.
You too. Bye.